Well, good evening. Thank you, Ambassador, for your gracious introduction and, above all, for your service not only to the State of Israel, but to the U.S.-Israel relationship in such a powerful way. Ambassador Dermer, I can tell you, as a member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, is a powerful voice for Israel in Washington, throughout the country, and throughout the world. So, Ambassador, thank you so much for what you do. I want to thank Mr. Adelson for his gracious remarks as well. I truly appreciate it. I want to thank Rabbi Shmuley for the vital work that you and the World Values Network does each and every day. It's an honor to be in the company of so many champions of Israel, heroes and heroines whose lives and contribution are etched in the annals of history, icons who have always stood strong for Israel and the U.S.-Israel relationship. And all of the distinguished elected officials, my colleague in the Senate, Senator Cruz, ambassadors, artists, and champions of Jewish values here today. And a special note to all of the honorees, my congratulations to you as well. Thank you to the Adelsons, the Steinhardts, the Sterlings, and Nili Falek for hosting the event and for their incredible commitment to making certain that there is no light between the United States and Israel. Whenever I speak, including when I was the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, whenever I speak about U.S. foreign policy anywhere in the world, I always like to have my audience understand how I decide what that foreign policy should be from my perspective. And it is the answer to two questions. What is in the national interests of the United States? And what is in the national security interests of the United States? And actually, there's a third. What is the moral thing to do in different parts of the world? And for me, those two questions have dictated my advocacy, my views, and my votes in the Congress for 23 years. And for those 23 years between the House and the Senate, I have said that it is in the national interest and security of the United States to have a strong, unwavering relationship with the State of Israel, the one true democracy in a sea of autocracy, a major security ally of the United States, and the one country most likely to be voting with us in common cause. And so for 23 years, I have been an advocate of aid to Israel, of ensuring its qualitative military edge could be preserved with all of the challenges it has, of being a huge supporter of Iron Dome, and thank God for Iron Dome and what Israel went through most recently. And above all, to prevent Iran from achieving nuclear weapon capability, which is why I worked with the present chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, Bob Corker, to co-author the Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act to give Congress a say and oversight over any potential agreement so that the Congress can pass judgment on it, not just the executive branch. The fact is that the sanctions relief that the administration is negotiating was crafted by me as one of the authors in Congress, and it was enacted by Congress, and it is Congress that should make a determination of whether it is appropriate in our national security interest to relieve any of those sanctions. As the author of those sanctions, I never envisioned the wholesale waiver of sanctions against Iran without congressional input and without congressional action. And I will oppose waiving sanctions unless Iran agrees to a deal that begins to dismantle its illicit nuclear infrastructure. The message to Tehran is that there is no sign-in bonus. Frankly, I have some serious questions about where we are headed in these negotiations, about the divergent understandings of the political framework agreement, about the pace of any sanctions relief. I'm concerned about the President's statement that greater sanction relief could come up front for Iran. I'm concerned about Iran's ability to retain research and development authorities and to advance research and development, because when you advance research and development, you made more sophisticated centrifuges, they spin faster, they enrich uranium at a quicker pace, and ultimately you have a smaller breakout time to a nuclear bomb. I'm concerned about the ability to snap back any sanctions that already exist. If there is a violation of the agreement. From what I can see, what we see and envision is a committee process that will not guarantee the snapback will take place. I'm concerned that the International Atomic Energy's ability to obtain anytime, any place, anywhere SNAP inspection, its capacity to meet those inspections. I'm deeply disturbed that the framework agreement does not speak to the long-established requirement that Iran must come completely clean on the question of weaponization dimensions of their nuclear program. And more than anything else, I'm concerned that what will happen when the critical elements of the proposed agreement expire after 10 years. That cannot mean and should not mean that Iran could be at the precipice of being a nuclear weapon state. That cannot be the ultimate result, and as long as I am in the United States Senate, I will work to ensure that it is not. It is not a good deal if all we do is change the United States policy, which has been to prevent nuclear proliferation, and then now to change it from that policy to manage it. If we try to manage nuclear proliferation instead of stopping it, then we face a Middle East that will be a tinderbox in the world with those seeking to acquire nuclear weapons because they believe that Iran has the possibility of achieving it, and we can ill afford that in that part of the world. The bottom line is that I understand that there are those who are hopeful, but hope is not a national security solution. We need to guarantee that Iran does not have nuclear weapons. And we cannot forget that Iran is the greatest sponsor of terrorism in the world, from Yemen to Bahrain, from Iraq to Lebanon, from the catastrophe that is happening in Syria. This is who we are told that we can ultimately see them change the course of events. I don't believe that that is the case. So let me close by saying we must always have Israel's back. And that not only means stopping Iran from having the capacity to have a nuclear weapon, it means fighting back against efforts by any nation or any anti-Semitic group, any haters or Holocaust deniers who try to delegitimize Israel. When I have foreign dignitaries come visit me at the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and they think our bilateral discussions are going to be about trade or security or other elements of our bilateral relationships, they are often stunned if they happen to be a country in which I believe there is a rise of anti-Semitism, and I say to that leader sitting at that committee before my colleagues, what are you doing about anti-Semitism in your country? Because I want them to know that we care and are concerned. So, as I have said many times, the Holocaust was the most sinister possible reminder that the Jewish people in exile lived in constant jeopardy. And while the Shoah is central to Israel's identity, it was never the reason behind its founding, and it is not the main justification for Israel's existence today. That true justification is written in thousands of years of undeniable history that lead to an undeniable conclusion. The reestablishment of the State of Israel in modern times goes back to the time of Abraham and Sarah, and that is the historical reality. The argument for Israel's existence, the argument for its legitimacy does not depend on what anyone might say in speeches. It has been forged by the fires of history. It has been nurtured by the blood, sweat, tears, and suffering of the Jewish people, by the courage of generations of men and women who have made the desert green, by Nobel Prizes earned by groundbreaking innovations and enviable institutions, by lives saved, democracy defended, peace made, and battles won. There can be no denying the history or the courage of the Jewish people. And there can be no denying the Jewish people their legitimate right to live in peace and security in the land that has been their home for thousands of years. And that is why I will not yield in my support of Israel. I will not yield to those who wish to break my resolve on stopping Iran's illicit nuclear program. and on preserving the unshakable bond between Israel and the United States. I believe this is a moral imperative. So thank you for honoring me tonight, and you can be assured that I will continue to raise my voice in the United States Senate.